boys and girls, it's Mrs. Howell, and I'm here today with another story for you. Now, our story today takes place in a city, and there is a word that I wanted to talk to you about, a vocabulary word that you might not understand or might not know. It's the word dreary. Dreary. It is a word that means kind of dark outside and gray, maybe even a little rainy, just kind of a very dull, yucky weather day. But it doesn't just mean weather. It can be a house could be dreary if it looked kind of dark and not well taken care of. Or in our story, the city is dreary. So when you look at the pictures, I want you to think about what dreary might mean when it's talking about a city, okay? So I know you've been learning about plants and seeds this week, so our story is all about a garden. I thought that would be a good one for us. So get cozy, hop on your couch if you're close to it. I'm on my couch. Let's go ahead and read. The Curious Garden by Peter Brown. Look at the title there. It's cut out of bushes. There once was a city without gardens or trees or greenery of any kind. Most people spent their time indoors. As you can imagine, it was a very dreary place. So look at the city. However, there was one little boy who loved being outside, even on drizzly days. While everyone else stayed inside, you could always find Liam happily splashing through his neighborhood. It was on one such morning that Liam made several surprising discoveries. He was wandering around the old railway, as he did from time to time, when he stumbled upon a dark stairway leading up to the tracks. The railway had stopped working years ago, and since Liam had always wanted to explore the tracks, there was only one thing for the curious boy to do. So see, there's Liam up there at the top with his umbrella. And there's the railway. It's elevated, which means it's up above the street. Liam ran up the stairs, pushed open the door, and stepped out onto the railway. The first thing he saw was a lonely patch of color. Wildflowers and plants were the last things he had expected to find up there. But when he took a closer look, it became clear that the plants were dying. They needed a gardener. See that lonely patch of plants that are growing? Liam may not have been a gardener, but he knew that he could help. So he returned to the railway the very next day and got to work. The flowers nearly drowned, and he had a few pruning problems, but the plants patiently waited while Liam found better ways of gardening. So see in the first picture, he's watering them too much. Then he kind of had some trouble trimming them up. He even sang to them. As the weeks rolled by, Liam began to feel like a real gardener, and the plants began to feel like a real garden. Most gardens stay in one place, but this was no ordinary garden. With miles of open railway ahead of it, the garden was growing restless. It wanted to explore. The tough little weeds and mosses were the first to move. They popped up farther and farther down the tracks and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. See how the plants are just growing and growing? There's more and more of them. Over the next few months, Liam and the Curious Garden explored every corner of the railway. Look how it's spread all along the railway. Now look, it's beautiful. And look at this one. Here's another. The plants have just taken over. After spending his spring and summer and autumn with the garden, Liam's time on the railway was finally interrupted by winter. Heavy blankets of snow fell on the city that season, and for the first time since he'd become a gardener, Liam could not visit the plants. See, he's down there with his sled, the other boys. Rather than waste his winter worrying about the garden, Liam spent it preparing for spring. After 3 cold months, the snow finally began to melt, and Liam rolled his new gardening gear over to the railway. So in the winter, what was he doing? He was reading books about becoming a gardener and how to be a better gardener. And then in the spring, he was ready, and he had a whole wheelbarrow full of new tools. Winter had taken a toll on the garden. It's looking kind of sad again, isn't it? But thanks to Liam's planning, his handy new tools, and a little help from the sun, the plants soon awoke from their winter sleep. Oh, he's singing to them again. The garden had always wanted to explore the rest of the city, and that spring it was finally ready to make its move. Once again, the tough little weeds and mosses set out first. They popped up farther and farther from the railway and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. The garden was especially curious about old, forgotten things. So here, look what's happening. It's starting to grow down from the railway onto the buildings and the things in the city. And since it liked old things, look what's happening to that car. And here it's growing out of a boarded up window. A few plants popped up where they didn't belong. Uh-oh, what's it covering? A stop sign and a fire hydrant. Oh. Others mysteriously popped up all at once. Oh look, this man came out to find a nice potted plant outside his door. Who do you think is putting the garden in certain places? I think that's Liam in disguise. But the most surprising things that popped up were the new gardeners. And look, there's other people who have started gardening. And there's a gentleman and a boy over here and a lady mowing her yard on her roof. And look at all the kids down at the bottom following Liam with their gardening tools. And look what some of the other people in the city have done. There's garden steps, people having a picnic, a water garden. Look here, they cut bushes into animal shapes. It's called a topiary. Here, they're growing up around all the old buildings. And there's a tree right in between 2 buildings. Many years later, the entire city had blossomed. But of all the new gardens, Liam's favorite was where it all began. There he is up on top of the railway. I bet that's his mom and his dad, don't you think? Helping him. Now, look at the city. The end. Now, boys and girls, I asked you to think about what dreary might mean. Now, at the beginning of the story, oh, sorry, you can hear my clock. It's chiming right now. At the beginning of the story, look at the city. How does it look? Do you see this black smoke coming out of the smokestacks? And there's nothing, no green, no plants, nothing. So that's a dreary city. And then let's look at the very last page of the city and what the Curious Garden has done. Look at the difference there to there. Doesn't it look brighter and more green, lots more color, cleaner? That's right. So dreary kind of means kind of yucky and dark and not very nice, not a place you might want to go. So boys and girls, I hope that you liked that story. That was one of my favorites, and I know you also learned about Earth Day. And planting gardens and plants and trees, that's all wonderful for the earth and helps the earth. So I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope that maybe this spring and summer you'll get outside and enjoy the trees and the plants around your yard. And this week, Tate and I are going to be starting some seeds from in little pots, so that when they grow big and tall and get to be nice flowers, we can plant them in our flower garden. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.